Welcome to the TweakTown Weekly Podcast, number 18. This one's going to be covering all things games, as usual. We have a special guest with us, Chris Smith, who is the ex-community manager for TT Esports. How you going, Chris?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Did you want to tell everyone your history and about yourself and where you're based and what you've been up to lately?
Yeah, cool. So I'm from Melbourne, Australia. As Anthony said, my name's Chris Smith, aka Mayo is my online gaming name. I've just come from a competitive background mainly. I've been working for Thermaltake for the past four-ish years, which ended just about halfway through in November. But as far as my experience goes, single-player games for quite a while, as far as the gaming scene goes, but then into competitive things like Battlefield 2. I played in the top 6 team in Australia for CS:GO and things like that before as well. So now just kicking it back, playing the latest WoW expansion, bit of Dota 2 here and there, bit of CS:GO here and there. Just a few games in and around. These guys, just writing about tech, doing a bit of freelance marketing and playing some games in my spare time.
So speaking about CS:GO, did you hear about the DreamHack stuff with Fnatic?
Yeah, that was all pretty interesting. The forfeit after all the accusations and things like that. There's a lot of really angry anti-Fnatic fanboys around these days. A lot of them.
I think it's gonna change things. Like there's a lot of money up for grabs at those events, and for someone like a clan like that to do something like that, it's very yeah. The sportsmanship there is not that good at all. Not that good at
Yeah, I
all.
saw some people asking on Patrick Khan Satterman. He's their chief gaming officer, and he's always on the ground managing his teams and standing behind his CS:GO team. And I saw some people asking whose decision actually was it to forfeit that match. Was it his decision? Was it the team's decision? Was it the captain's decision? Or was it all of them talking together? So I've been trying to find an answer for that. I've actually got him on Facebook, so I'm going to ask him, see if we can get some info out of that, because I've seen a few people don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, I read a little bit about it, but yeah, it's unbelievable that again there's no well, there should be umpires for that stuff. Like surely, like obviously you can't have people behind them watching what they're doing because that can be, you can send someone a message and tell them where they are, but still to do that in a live game.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There's meant to be some kind of umpiring going on, but generally with esports, it's just kind of they don't cater for any of that kind of stuff whatsoever. Proper anti-cheat panels and things like that, especially in Australia. If you get caught cheating, who's the anti-cheat panel in Australia, for example? The same as
Yeah,
overseas.
that's right.
It's kind of up to the discretion of each tournament.
Bloody video ads. Okay, so we're going to get straight into our first topic, which is the crew. We've been
hmm
talking about the crew for a while, which is Ubisoft's open world kind of like racing title. But we wrote just a couple of hours ago that the lead game designer has said that the game will actually launch smoothly. So we had some news out that the launch wouldn't be that smooth because they did internal testing um, with the press, and the press couldn't really access the online servers with thousands and thousands of players on board at the same time, which is fair enough. But the lead game designer, he's come out and said that quote unquote that the crew with the open beta reap the benefits of a long-term beta program designed specifically to push out infrastructure as far as possible in real-world situations with thousands of players from all over the world playing the game at the same time. So we posted about a week ago, I think, well in the last week, that Ubisoft had been really cautious of what they're going to be doing with the review process in the first couple of days, telling gamers to not really listen to the reviews because obviously they're not going to be targeting the online portions of the game. But now we're having the lead game designer, the crew launches I think December 2, which is pretty much tomorrow,
hmm
coming out saying this close to the launch of the game. What do you
Yeah,
think?
it's interesting. I mean, if you look in the comment section, of course, there's the Ubisoft hate with the amount of stuff that's been going on currently. But obviously, it's a different lead designer. But I guess in the end, a lot of it is the first kind of thing that brings to mind is who do you believe? They brought in a bunch of news guys and they said something bad, and then the company Ubisoft just gone, nah, don't listen to them. It doesn't matter anymore. I wonder if this is kind of a cover up by them to cover up what the different guys said. I mean, they got a point about you can't play with thousands of players from all over the world and that kind of stuff. But if I jump in an offline server for say CS:GO for example, because that's what we are talking about before, I can still see like the game mechanics and what shooting in a wall looks like and what the recoil is and that kind of stuff. You can get a general feel. So it smells a bit like a cover up by Ubisoft. We'll see, I guess,
That's what I
tomorrow.
don't understand. Like, especially after I think a lot of people, their faith in Ubisoft would be hurt because of the way that they treated people with Assassin's Creed Unity. Um, I think right off that you think they'd be much more upfront, saying, just let us get the game out first, like,
hmm
and explain it. I don't think they actually well driving game. They just say like the launch is going to be a bit weird, and it's like, well, it's an open world driving game. It come out and explain how the game works so people understand why there could be problems at launch. But I don't think they're explaining themselves properly.
Well, let's see if a online massive multiplayer game can actually work on launch for once.
Yeah, we'll see tomorrow. That's the interesting thing is it'll be all over news sites tomorrow. Within the next 24 to 48 hours, everyone will be able to have their own actual opinion on the game.
That's right. I mean, I reckon that's an hour-long topic in itself about, how many game companies release a game these days, not only that just don't work, but an online game that doesn't work. We had the Diablo 3 issues, EA, even back to Bad Company 2 when I, took days off work to play that at the start. I couldn't play that game for the first 8 hours, so I played the campaign, the latest World of Warcraft expansion with massive queues. I wonder when people are going to start getting sick of it. And I've
Or
seen a lot of
Battlefield
people.
4, The Sims.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen a lot of people on like PC Gaming Master Race and subreddits and R-Gaming and things like that saying, wait a week, don't pre-order the game anymore. Wait till it comes
Yep.
out and see what happens.
Yep.
So, the game companies are hurting themselves in that retrospect. But it's pretty bad. Like ever since Bad Company 2, that was 2010. And, ever since then, I don't buy new games anymore because I don't see the point. It's not going to work. You're going to have a Diablo, what was it, Era 31 or something like that? Was the
Yeah, couldn't
Yeah,
cancel this and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, in my old job, we sponsored some guy to do like a 72-hour charity stream for Diablo on release. Game comes out, game doesn't work. What do you do? Pack up, go home.
And that's what I don't understand is like all these games again, like you said, this could be an hour discussion itself. Is that I remember playing on like a NES or a Super Nintendo or the Mega Drive or Genesis in the States, and it didn't. You didn't need firmware updates to your consoles and day one patches that are like 10, 12, 15 gig. Like if you're on a slow ADSL, like for you, you're on a slow ADSL connection, then day one you're going to be downloading for what 12 or 24 hours just to be able to play the game. It's not like you're getting anything special. Like you can't play the game until the game's updated. So it's almost ridiculous that the gaming is like that these days.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Next up, we have the new Batman game, Batman Arkham Knight, with the development moving back to Rocksteady Studios. They were the company that did Batman Arkham Asylum. They are releasing a gameplay trailer, or a trailer, I should say. I don't know if it's going to be gameplay. Hopefully, sometime in the next 24 hours. And if you don't want spoilers, turn your video off now, put it on pause, stop it. You've got about 10 seconds. That's it. So in Arkham, in the previous Batman game, Batman Arkham City, the Joker was removed from Gotham. So he died, or you killed him in the game. And the new Batman Arkham Knight title actually continues directly off of the back of that. So the studio tease that you actually get to see how that affects, obviously, Batman and Gotham City with one of the biggest rivals of Batman gone. Not only that, you're actually going to get improved gameplay. Batman has new abilities, and you've actually got the Batmobile, which is going to be cool. I don't know why it's taken the studio this long to provide the Batmobile, but I'm not that big of a Batman fan, but I will check it out purely for the Batmobile.
Yeah, I think the Batmobile will be good. Definitely. I mean, I haven't got too much to add on the Batman stuff. I guess we got to wait till it comes out. I've played some of the Batman games before, but they've been okay, but nothing crazy that sucks you in. I guess it's a lot up to the fans, really. If you're a big fan of Batman, then go for it for sure. But same with you and I, not big Batman fans, so.
No. So I'm a massive Superman fan, and I really want to see Rocksteady because they've done some great stuff with the Batman game. Like it is like if you're a Batman fan, it does look like a great game, and it's got so much substance, and the world that they've created is great. But I really want to see a proper Superman game. Well, what was the last Superman game? Like Superman 64 from the Nintendo 64? Did you ever play that? That was so bad.
No, I didn't. I've heard of it, and Superman was in some fighting game I think I've played at some stage, but that's about it.
Oh, was
It's a bit
that
left out.
Injustice?
Yeah, that was
Injustice,
the
yeah.
one. Yeah, I played that on previous gen actually when my computer blew up last. My motherboard died on me, and I just got on my previous gen on my Poverty ADSL2 connection, downloaded a few demos. But that was quite fun actually. That was definitely a good game.
Yeah. No, because it had a good mix of superheroes.
Yeah, definitely. I actually played Batman on that one the most. He was the most fun.
Yeah.
Could put a
See,
little
again,
bomb
I'm
in my
Superman fan,
back
so I
and
just
just walk
played
around.
Superman, and it's just like I'm playing the game. I'm like, why is Batman able to like punch Superman and even make Superman lose any like health, any of his health bars? Like Superman wouldn't lose the health bar from any punch from pretty much anyone.
Yeah.
But whatever. So Ubisoft, because we love them so much here at TweakTown, like we really do love Ubisoft. Assassin's Creed Unity. Uh, the patch 3 came out a couple of days ago, and I read somewhere, I think it was on Reddit, that the PlayStation 4 version of the game had actually dropped in graphics, and we've actually got a screenshot which we'll link to this podcast, where you can actually see that the image quality has dropped. Not just because of them dropping the graphics, but actually just dropping the amount of lights that are being rendered in the game. So you can see in the image that is with the accompanying news post that there's a pre-patch and an after-patch screenshot, and it just looks completely different. But the performance is up, obviously because there's not as many lights in the game now. There's not as many reflections, and there's not as many shadows, and the light that you can actually see the color is a lot less. The detail is a lot lower. But that's Ubisoft's, one-trick solution to solving the performance problems of their games. I don't know what they're doing and why they would do that, and again, why they don't actually have any more correspondence with their fans or with tech sites like us. But there you go. They're releasing a patch, and their only way to fix a broken game is by, breaking its legs again.
Yeah, it's interesting. A screenshot comes to mind that I saw on Reddit. I think it was on TweakTown's Facebook wall as well at some stage, which was, telling me that PC graphics don't matter or something like that. It was a PC versus a console, and the screenshot on the right just looks really washed out. It looks
It
old
does.
gen. It looks
Yeah.
grey, like it looks really grey and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Like, it looks like Skyrim kind of grey.
Well, I think it's almost like they've just put a massive filter over the game. Like it almost looks like if you just look at just the screenshot preview, it actually looks like on the left, if they were to show you like the PS3 version, a PS4 version, and on the right that is the previous generation. It just looks way more washed out. Like there's just a filter of crap over it to actually get the frame rate, obviously, up to 30 frames a second.
Yeah, and lights make a big difference. It's that cinematic 30 frames that we've all been hoping for.
I really do love the cinematic 30 FPS. Like I have GTX 980 SLI and a 1440p 144Hz G-Sync monitor, and yeah, I sync my monitor down to 30 Hz just so I can have that cinematic feel. It really is good. It's next gen, man. It's next gen.
FPS, limit my FPS in CS:GO to 30.
Yeah, and obviously, and you're a pro gamer, man. So all the pro gamers limit their frames to 30. Don't you know that?
That's right.
That's okay.
That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But I mean, I don't know if like you said, possibly unfixable. Can you do enough to a console without re-releasing a whole new game that fixes their errors with that kind of stuff? But I mean, the thing that comes to mind straight away for me is that we want to be as fair as possible to Ubisoft. But the thing that comes to mind is that did it actually put their game in a PS4 and try it?
Well, that's it. That's what I don't understand. Like,
how could you release a single-player game that gets you 10 FPS on a console which has unchangeable hardware?
That's right. They would have known months and months in advance that the game wasn't ready. And the thing is that Assassin's Creed Unity is on an annual release schedule, so they had to release it. But they delayed Watch Dogs. They delayed The Crew. So why not come out and go like, look, guys, this is the first game that we've built on next-gen consoles, exclusively for next-gen consoles, because it was. They didn't build Assassin's Creed Unity for the Xbox 360 and PS3. It was Xbox One, PS4, and PC only. If they had said, like, look, we're going to delay it by 3 months, we're going to release it in January, February 2015, because we're experiencing problems. But they wouldn't have wanted to admit that. That's the thing, is that they just go, we need to delay the game to work on it more. But I think now they have to be more upfront with gamers now. They can't just come out and just BS the entire time. They have to come out. Like you think next year Assassin's Creed is going to be released in October, November 2015.
Yep.
Probably half the people are going to know about Assassin's Creed Unity's problems. So 50% of your potential customers are now either going to be gone or they're going to be very wary about buying it again. So you're going to need to really be much more upfront. And if it isn't ready, delay it. Don't release it when it's way more than obviously broken. Like you said, they can't. What are they supposed to do? Patch it another 10 times, and then it might be all right. But what about the people who bought it on day one? All those people that had to have gone through all these problems. It's not the way you deal with customers.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, I think in the end, as much as we do discredit the developers for some crazy things they say, it just smells a lot of corporate. I think, like you said, the boss said, get it out no matter what. We have to do it, and they get it out, and then it's the developers' problems for not having enough time. It's the same as COD has a 1 year release schedule, and we see them using similar graphics engines and stuff. I think I even saw like when Black Ops got released, someone posted a screenshot on Reddit, which was it stopped working, and it came up with an error message that said Modern Warfare 2 has stopped working and things like that. Maybe it's time that they start going to 2-3 year release schedules and making things that are decent. But I guess until that time, consumers are still buying their games, so they're rolling around in pools full of $100 notes while we're
Well, I
scrutinizing
think
them.
that's what it is. People need to start voting with their wallets. Like, of course, you can still buy these games, but I think that we need to start seeing games made and released differently. Like we were talking before we started recording. We're actually talking about Game of Thrones, Telltale Games, Game of Thrones, and how it's going to be episodic. I don't see why they can't release an Assassin's Creed game like that. Maybe go, here's the first 2 hours of the game, and then get those 2 hours nailed down, and then just break it up into chunks instead of the entire game being broken. Maybe 3/4 of the way through it's broken, but the first third of it's working. So then just nail that, and then release that. And then 2 or 3 days later, release the next couple of hours. The 2 or 3 days later, release the next couple of hours. Of course, people won't like that, but it needs to change. They can't just be releasing these games every year, and year after year they're broken. Watch Dogs was broken, The Crew was broken, Assassin's Creed Unity was broken. It's not good enough. It's simply not good enough. And people, like you said, they're still going to buy it, and people need to vote with their wallet. I'm the same as you. I don't buy these games at launch anymore because I'd rather wait until they're fixed or wait until they're patched. But why? Why should I wait? It's like a movie. Oh, Interstellar's out, but wait 3 months to see it because the cinema seats aren't working yet. You can't sit down in them. How ridiculous would that be?
Yeah, for sure. I think the last game I bought, was World of Warcraft, and I bought it 2 days ago because I wanted to wait till all the server issues were finished.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But see, if more people did what you did, then those sales figures that they always talk about, the first 24 hours of sales, those numbers are going to be impacted by people like you that didn't buy the game at the start. And in the first 7-day sales, those numbers are going to be impacted. So these companies they're doing it wrong. They keep going, oh, we want to make them more cinematic, like the movies. And it's like, well, when you release a Blu-ray or a movie at the cinema, I can just go watch it and it's final. It will work, guaranteed. If it doesn't work, I get to walk out of that cinema and get my money back. So with games, people they just put up with it. Oh, it's okay. It'll be patched. That's not good enough. You can't release it, especially here in Australia, we're paying close to $100 for these games. And that's $89.99 US, which is something like $105 or $110 Australian, which is just ridiculous. Anyway, enough about Ubisoft because I'm going to go into a rage-induced coma. So Telltale Games, Game of Thrones, the first episode from that comes out December 2, so again in the next 24 to 48 hours, depending on where you are in the world. It releases December 2 for PC, Mac, and PS4, December 3 on the Xbox One and Xbox 360, December 4 on Apple's iOS. PlayStation 3 owners are going to have to wait a week also until December 9. So if you're a fan of the game, or not of the game, of the series, I should say, on HBO, it takes place at the end of Season 3 and the beginning of Season 5, and you get to play characters from House Forrester, which is a noble house from the Wolfswood in the north of Westeros. So you'll be able to play more than one character. I think it's 5 different characters, sorry. So you get to play anything from actual house members to servants in the game, which is a nice change. It's not like you're always playing these powerful people. So you're going to see different parts of the game from different perspectives. But it's a really cool way of releasing a game in episodes. And not only that, they've actually got a lot of the talent from the show, from the actual TV show, coming back to voice their characters in the game. Are you a big fan of Game of Thrones, Chris, or
I'm a new fan actually. My yeah
you
my
fan?
yeah my recently I'm trying to think of the way to say it. My recently discovered girlfriend. I don't know. My girlfriend I've been going out with for
Hopefully she's not
not too
listening.
long now. Yeah, for not too long now. She's actually a massive fan. She's got a House Baratheon tattoo on one
Oh
of her
wow.
forearms. So I decided to take the plunge. I watched. I got a short attention span. I'm from esports, okay? So our episodes didn't do me justice before, but now I've got someone near me who knows what's going on, and in case I get lost in the story, can explain it. I'm actually becoming a massive fan of it now. So I think I'm up to season 3, episode 3. I
Okay.
watched 1.5 seasons before, but no, I started from the start all over again. But
Yep. That's
it's
really
it's
good.
definitely going to be interesting. I'm definitely going to try this out. I'm definitely going to try this out.
Yeah. See, I won't again. I won't buy it straight away. I see. For me, episodic, I'll probably wait until all of them are available, maybe, or at least two or three.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is, if I buy it on PC, do I get to play it on my iPad, or do I get to play it on my PS4, or do I have to buy multiple copies?
Hmm.
Oh, that's gonna suck because I'm going to CS in January. Something like that I can play on my Nvidia Shoe tablet. I can just sit there and play on Android. But if I'm gonna have to wait, that's gonna suck.
Yeah, it's interesting to see games now that are being released on iOS as well as PC. It's something that's pretty new, from what I've noticed.
Such a
And
big platform. They really have to these days.
yeah, and it's just interesting about how, like, it's not even going to be the same game, really. Surely, like, you can't. How can you can emulate a keyboard and mouse with a PS4 controller, sure, but how do you do it, with the touchscreen? It's going to be very interesting. Like, I wonder how similar the game's going to be across the two.
Well, you'd think it'd be similar, but not the same, because you're going to be tapping something instead of pressing a key or pressing a mouse button. That'd be interesting. Didn't
Yeah,
think of it
it'll
like that.
definitely be interesting. But I will try that out for sure on PC.
Well, yeah, I think it actually work out best for you because you're right. You're going through season 3 now, and the game starts off at the end of season 3. So if you were to buy the game tomorrow and finish the TV, or buy the game the next week or two, and then finish season 3 in the next week, that actually
Yeah, it'd be
for
nice and
you it'd be
fresh.
even better than most people because it'd be perfectly fresh for you.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, I agree with what you said about episodic and waiting a bit as well. I think one of the best things I like about Game of Thrones at the moment is that there's already 4 seasons out, and
Yep.
I started again from season 1. It's really good to be able to chain that together rather than you go on, you see the agony that people are in over Walking Dead, over, Game of Thrones and things like that. On Twitter and Facebook, going crazy waiting for those next episodes. But it's really good just to have a couple of seasons up your sleeve that you can just, get into, because I feel like, what happens if you feel really broken up and you don't have closure and you just get bored of the game in the end. Like imagine if World of Warcraft was released like that. If they released one quest every week, and you play one quest in
It's
WoW and then you have to quit and come back in a week to play another quest or a chain even.
I couldn't do it. Well, like I used to watch shows episode to episode, and then I started weaning myself off of that. This is before Netflix became big with like binge watching, and now the only show that I watch is The Walking Dead every Monday. So it comes out tonight our time, and I'll watch it as soon as I can get it. But then it's like I was watching The Walking Dead last week, and there was something that happened. I don't want to spoil it for anyone that might not be caught up. And I'm like, why are these characters doing this again? Because I hadn't watched the episode for like obviously a week, and even in that week, I start forgetting because there's like 10 different things going on. They're all in different spaces, and there's all sorts of different characters and relationships, and you forget. And especially like a show like The Walking Dead or even Game of Thrones, there's so many layers of that show. There's families and power and corruption, and then one person's sleeping with this person, and that person's a sister to this person. It's like your mind explodes trying to watch that show. And especially if you watch
Yeah.
like if you were to stop watching it now and then watch season 3 episode 4 like 6 months from now, you're going to forget most of what you've just watched.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, I find it hard enough to keep in touch with what's going on with Game of Thrones as it is, let alone playing, one episode at a time. Yeah, it's why I like games like Mass Effect 3, for example, so much. Minus obviously the ending that everyone hates. I found that game was good because it provided you with a clear-cut storyline, but you had some optional side quest kind of extras that you could do that weren't necessary, and there weren't too many of them, but you could go and do them, and they're okay if you did it. But if you didn't want to do it, you could just skip them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's how the game. I think games are going to go through a change. I really think. Again, we'll probably actually we should talk about this in another podcast. But I really think Valve, when they release, a Source 2.0 and Half-Life 3 and all that stuff, I think that's when we're going to see a big push towards these episodic kind of change in the market, because Valve did it with Team Fortress 2. Look at all the money that were making from Team Fortress 2. They stopped making as much money, and then all the hats and modding went up, and then it was bam. Like they said, we make more money by making the game free and putting in these changes into the game, like letting the users make things, than we did ever before making the game and selling it.
Yeah, I've seen some estimates and stuff on how much Valve makes, even just off market trading. Valve takes a cut. If you sell a CS:GO knife on Valve's Steam, on their market, it's like eBay. They take a cut out of it. So it's ridiculous. The amount of money that they're making out of this kind of stuff's crazy.
Well, my nephew, he's right into Counter Strike and CS:GO and stuff like that, and yeah, he was showing me some knives that are worth like hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? Why? Why would you spend $1,000 plus? Like, obviously, there's people out there that do it and they spend their money doing it, but just for one item in a game, and there's thousands of items. It's just insane for me. But that just shows that there's money, there's a market for it, and where there's a market, at least there's someone like Valve that do that. Where Ubisoft would probably go, oh, here's a knife that will sell for $1,000, and you stab someone, then it breaks in half, and then the knife's on the ground and it's gone. You never get it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I don't get it. Moving on, Star Citizen, for people that are right up into Chris Roberts' amazing space sim, I should say. It's getting very close to, if not, I'm sure it's already past $64 million in crowdfunding across Kickstarter and Robert Space Industries website. And the developer announced that the stretch goal for $64 million was introducing a pet system. So you're now going to be able to own a pet, like a dog or a cat or an alien, I'm sure they'll have aboard your ship. Are you into Star Citizen at all, Chris? Like, are you gonna buy it and have a pet?
Nowhere near as much as you are, to be honest.
I'm not even that into it. I think it's more the tech side that drives me, like seeing the persistent universe and all the insane amount of hardware you need to run it. But a pet?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a cool idea though. It's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I mean, pets are a very popular thing in WoW, so it seems logical.
Well, I think people are going to really, really drive the pets in Star Citizen, because you're going to have little alien pets, and I'm sure you'll have proper, pets that we're used to, like dogs and cats and mice or whatever. But it's just an interesting, what I don't understand. So say you got $5 million of funding. Here's a $7 million stretch goal, $8 million stretch goal, $9 million. That's a $64 million. Who thought of pets? Like, what's going to come next? You're going to have like plants, and you're going to have like Sims kind of stuff in there, so you can build your own ships like with a different layout. The stretch goals that they must have like $100 million. I'm looking forward to that $100 million stretch goal.
Which one was that one again?
I don't know. I don't even think they've announced that. So I'm guessing it's going to be something absolutely huge.
It reminds me of the Valve's Dota 2 ones for the international, actually, for their stretch goals as well. Like originally they announced their stretch goals and they reached it, and then I think in the Valve office they went, oh crap, we got to think of some more stretch goals. What can we do? Like they probably just browsed through Reddit threads or something, just being like, oh, let's find some comments. That looks cool. Let's do that one. That one looks cool.
Well, I'm sure they'd have to. They'd really have to, because yeah, you'd have like a limit. Like again, maybe with Star Citizen, I think they thought they were going to get to 10 million. So all these things, like, they'd have to constantly be. Now they're having to constantly change them, because you're getting so much money that the stretch goals are becoming this massive list of stuff. That's where it scares me. Like, are they ever going to release Star Citizen? Because not only is Star Citizen the game they promised, but now they've got all these stretch goals that they now have to give, like 30, 40 stretch goals that they have to provide their consumers. I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Speaking of another game is it going to come out or is it not? DayZ. Are you a big fan of DayZ? Did you get into it?
Look, to be honest, I think the DayZ fad has passed. That's what I feel like. Yeah, too little, too late, or just non-existent, too late.
I think it's like EVE Online. It's one of those games where if you didn't get in the beginning, just don't bother now, because there's so many. That game feels like the Wild Wild West to me. Like, you go in there and you get like, people are always just attacking you. Like, it's just whoever can build the coolest backpack, and then you just go and get attacked. Like, I don't know. But we've written some news that the beta. So you keep in mind that Daisy isn't even out yet. It's just in alpha form right now. The beta is coming towards the end of 2015. And the final version of the game, I'm guessing version 1.0, is coming in the first half of 2016. So we're still 18 months away from the game. The game's going to be going up slightly in price after every quarter. So right now, or during the Steam full sale, it's going to be $35. No, sorry, $30, and then it'll increase to 35. And then when the beta kicks off towards the end of 2015, it's going to be $44, and the final game's going to cost people $50. But the developer also announced there's a bunch of stuff that's coming to the game. So a new user interface. There's a new zombie AI, basic vehicles, diseases. Quarter 2, we're going to see advanced vehicles, advanced animals, a new user interface, player stamina. And then quarter 3, they're going to release traps, barricading, aerial transport, and a console prototype. So that's the thing that should have piqued most people's interest, is that DayZ has been up until now a PC exclusive. But to announce that there's going to be a console prototype, that's going to be interesting, considering how much hardware you actually need to play the game at maximum graphics, cranked up at 1080p. So yeah, it should be interesting to see what it runs at on consoles. But there you have it. It's coming out to consoles towards the end of next year.
Yeah, judging by the screenshot, it looks like it's going to be fairly decent. It very much reminds me of Operation Flashpoint, actually, the old the Dawn missions that I used to do back in the day, like in the early 2000s.
Well, it's based off of the Armor engine. That's why.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's I just talking about the exact scene, but it's interesting the pricing changing as well.
I think it's good and bad, because it kind of entices people, like, if you haven't already bought it, buy it now, and it'll get more expensive. But yeah, it's good but I like that. That's a different idea versus jamming the game down people's throats for $90 and buying it when it's supposed to be finished. Where I like these kinds of games where it's an alpha, but in some ways this is more stable than Assassin's Creed Unity, and Assassin's Creed Unity is a huge AAA title from a company that's worth billions of dollars. So and they're going, we're gonna make more things available in the game as time goes by, versus chucking everything in the kitchen sink, and then the game's not working at all for some people, or being broken, which should lead us into our next story. Assassin's Creed Unity, again, sorry Ubisoft, they have admitted that the game was broken. So they're actually announcing that their upcoming DLC, which is Dead Kings, is going to be free to all players, as kind of like a sorry or apology for the mess that's been the launch of Assassin's Creed Unity. So Ubisoft Montreal's boss, Yanis Mallet, he wrote on a blog saying, "Unfortunately, at launch, the overall quality of the game was diminished by bugs and unexpected technical issues. I want to sincerely apologize on behalf of Ubisoft and the entire Assassin's Creed team. These problems took away from your enjoyment of the game and kept many of you from experiencing the game at its fullest potential." Now, I don't like what he said there. You see that he says the overall quality of the game was diminished by bugs. That I understand. You can't squash all the bugs by release, and obviously different hardware on PC will stop that. But then he says unexpected technical issues. So are you telling me that, again, a week, a month, 3 months from release, they didn't have any problems on PS4, Xbox One? None? And that it was somehow an unexpected issue? Like, that just doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, it's interesting. And like this thing says here as well. Does DLC make things better? No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
and you can see it from the comments from the users as well. It's not just us trying to throw crap at, hang shit on Ubisoft, that kind of stuff. It's definitely, we're just publicizing the public opinion and throwing in the facts and a little bit about what we think at the end. But like you're saying here, it was an interesting note from this guy called Singo Octagonopus, or some weird name. But he's saying here, Sony's been told by the FTC to refund money to people with the Vita early adoption. So that's interesting. It's nice at least that Ubisoft have admitted they've done something wrong. But like I said, once again, it just smells really of corporate. Corporate not wanting to announce that they've had an issue until they've had 400 letter bombs and arsenic things sent to their office in the last week, and when they're finally forced back against the wall and with people outside with pitchforks and Game of Thrones style throwing things at them, and they're trying to go from there. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's like what I said before. Did they really not put the PC game on a computer and play it and try it? Because it's it's a single player game. You can't say the servers went down because they're getting DDoSed. Like, wow, and you can't say things like that are happening at all. You can't say the data center went down because the power went out because it's a single player game.
Well, that's what I don't understand. Like, again, that's not just a developer. That's the boss of Ubisoft Montreal, and then him saying unexpected technical issues. And the thing is, there's a lot of people, especially the people when we post it on Facebook, they think we're attacking Ubisoft, like you were saying before. But the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions of the game were broken as well. There were huge bugs, but it's what I don't get. Those three words: unexpected technical issues. What? How was it unexpected? Did they not get the disc, the final disc? So before, have you noticed as well? Before I get sidetracked, that you don't really hear about games going gold anymore. You used to years ago, games would go gold, and that means that the game was finished and it was sent off to manufacturing to be mass manufactured, put into its packaging to be sold at retail. Now you don't hear about games going gold anymore. It's like, do these games even go? Because to me, that's not gold. Is that why we're not hearing about games going gold anymore? Because to me, if I was to say again, like say Quake 3 went gold back in 1999. That game was finished. It was tested. It was quality assurance had gone through. Yep, this is fine. We've probably got a few things we need to patch, but the game is ready inside out, 0 to 100%. You can play the game without any show-stopping bugs. Where these games now, they're not finished. Like this is an Assassin's Creed Unity, to me, would not be considered gold was 5 or 6 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point. I forgot all about the gold stuff, but yeah, I remember seeing them on shelves.
Yeah. I think we should, yeah, that's actually a question. I think we should maybe have another podcast about that because I remember, you'd hear about it all back in the day. A game has gone gold and you'd be like, yes, it's, 2 weeks until it's out. You know that, it's ready for production. Microsoft does the same thing with Windows. They have, they have a code for it. I can't even think. When it's finished and it's gone off to RTM. Released to manufacturing. So as soon as the operating system, again, all the bugs all the bugs and stuff were finished and gone, and they would release it to manufacturing. And that's exactly what the gold kind of standard was for games. But these days you don't hear about that. I think we have somewhere. I wrote about it on TweakTown. Game gone gold. Let's see. No, I can't remember the last time a game went gold. Last time I've reported about it and said those words anyway. But yeah, they used to years ago, so I don't know where it's gone now. But anyway, Ubisoft, you suck for releasing games that aren't finished. Back to the glory days of when I was growing up. If anyone remembers Maniac Mansion, do you remember Maniac Mansion?
No, I don't.
No.
Actually.
Okay. Do you remember playing? Oh, geez. Did you ever have a NES? An NES?
No. I was a 64.
Okay, wow. Okay. So anyway,
no,
Maniac Mansion.
I did play games on a NES. I did, but not this game.
So it was that kind of time. Do you remember playing like the Secret Curse to Monkey Island or whatever it was called?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. What about the Indiana Jones, the Fate of Atlantis, the old LucasArts games? Okay, wow.
I was more a SNES. I came in around the SNES time, I think. Okay. I was PC from right at the beginning, so
okay.
Yeah, a little bit of console in between.
So anyone that's played Maniac Mansion back in the day, there's a spiritual successor from two of the creators of the game coming out. It hit Kickstarter. We reported on it about a week ago, but it's been funded. So the game is going to be called Thimbleweed Park, and they needed $375,000. They received that in a week, and now at the time of writing when I wrote the article, they're at $407,000. But I'm just going to double check now. Let's have a look at where they are now. So they needed 375. They were at 407 when I wrote it. Now they're at 444. So they're coasting along. But yeah, it's a spiritual successor to Maniac Mansion, which is one of my favorite games of all time as a kid. But yeah, we will see them release their stretch goals. Right now, they've reached $425,000, which means a German translator will be used for one of the characters. He worked on Monkey Island. $525,000 an iOS or Android version of the game is going to be released, which is what I'm looking forward to. I've already pledged, but I'm hoping it hits $525,000, and then $625,000 they'll have full voice acting in English. But yeah, you really need to be a fan of that game to. It's like saying, I don't even know. I can't even put it into words. I played so many hours of Maniac Mansion on so many different platforms. It's just one of those games. It's just very old school. Like you start off like at a mansion, obviously, and you have to like click things, and you might pick up something, and then you have to combine it with another item, and it's actually, thinking of games now, games are so radically simplified that almost a child could play them. Like, look at Halo when they introduce regenerative health. It's like you get hit and magically heal. It's like there's no threat to the game. Where a game like that, you had to really think like 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 steps ahead or behind. It's for its time, it was really, really good. 2 more articles and then we are done. So this should be going live any minute now. Xbox One is rumored to receive an update to its dashboard in January. So it hasn't been announced by Microsoft. This is just a rumor for now. But Microsoft supposedly has a press event for a little after CES, which starts off on January 5 in Vegas. Microsoft will be having an event after that event to discuss. Microsoft will be having an event after CES to discuss all things Windows 10. And the Xbox One is actually going to be reportedly receiving an update to its dashboard with a Windows 10 look and feel. So we've already heard that Microsoft wants to have, the one product family, one platform, one store with Windows 10 across, desktops, tablets, and Xbox. So it'll be interesting to see what they do and whether the Xbox One will eventually look like. Which will be maybe one of the first platforms to receive at least Windows 10 style and look.
It's just going to keep on turning consoles more and more into a PC, aren't they?
I think that, but that's what they need. Like, I think the Xbox would have been more successful if they just released it as a cut-down PC, stuffed the price. We have to make it the same price as Sony. It's why? Why do they have to make a $499? Make it if you want to make a better console, make it $1,000 and say that it's 4K capable. Who the hell is going to buy a $499 console when I can spend twice as much and have a console that's going to, like, if the games looked genuinely 2 or 3 times as good as the PlayStation 4, why would you buy a PS4?
I'm sure you could release 2 different Xbox models as well, or something like that too.
I talked about that on a previous podcast, like saying that you could release maybe Xbox One Pro or Xbox One 2 or something like that. Like you could do something.
Yeah, no, but it looks interesting. The main question I have is, like, the whole one product family, one platform, one store. That's definitely something that a lot of companies are trying to do these days. Is synchronize all of their products across one thing to make it easier for consumers. It's definitely a good idea. But one thing that I've written in a tech article before, which I'm not exactly sure where it is, but it's about the adoption of Windows 10, for example. Like, do you see Windows 10 as being something that's going to be substantial in the market and people are going to actually transfer to? Because why should I upgrade from Windows 7, for example? Like, I've already got interface that looks cool. I've already got fine security. I've got everything that works on here whatsoever. So, having everything the same is cool, but is it really going to be the same when you're not going to be using it anyway?
Well, if they don't provide you with any incentive, like I worked at a retail for 10 years and I worked through the Windows XP to Vista transition, which was super, super, super painful, and then went from Vista to 7, which was great. And I obviously moved over to TweakTown at about the time Windows 8 was being released. But there's no incentive for Windows 10. If Microsoft came out and said, this is the only way I can see Windows 10 truly taking off. If I was at Microsoft, I would have put this into the pipelines maybe 5 years ago. I would have said, okay, we're going to release a new Xbox. It's going to be DirectX 12 from the ground up, DirectX 12. We're going to have a minimum of 1080p 60 FPS for every single game. I don't know if you remember when the Xbox came out, Microsoft actually had a really, really strict requirement that every single game needed to be online capable. Every single game needed to have Dolby Digital 5.1 support. There was like a strict guideline of, you want to make a game for Xbox, you have to do these things. If that was me, I would have gone, okay, the next console is 1080p 60 minimum for every game. I don't care what you have to do. The hardware's there. They should have made something better and then released Windows 10 with it. With the new Xbox, and then gone, okay, if you want to play it on PC, here's the DirectX 12 version on PC on Windows 10, and if you want to play the games exactly like they are on Xbox, whatever they call it, then you have to buy Windows 10. But if there was an incentive, like the graphics looked amazing, like you say, if you were to get whatever you've got now, make it 3 times as good, there's the incentive. But for me, like, why? Windows 7 is great. I'm running Windows 7 right now. The only machine I have Windows 8 on is my Lenovo Yoga 2 Pro, my Ultrabook, because it came on there by default, Windows 8.1. but there's no incentive for me to go to even Windows 10. What's it going to do for me? All my games are DirectX 11 and eventually Mantle. Mantle's got more of a foothold than DirectX 12 will at start. It's just there's no incentive. There's absolutely zero incentive for people to move to Windows 10.
Yeah, exactly. My $99 OEM Windows 7. Why should I change?
Yeah.
Exactly what I think. You know, I'll be the same as you. I'll have 8.1 on my Microsoft Surface that I'm getting soon. But besides that, like, I don't see a point whatsoever.
No. I think that's where they need to incentivize it, and I really think Valve. Again, we'll talk about this in a future podcast, but I think Valve are going to come out next year with Steambox, Steam Control, Steam OS. You know, everything Steam, and I think Microsoft and Sony are going to finally have to wake up because releasing these consoles for $399. It's the lowest common denominator. They're trying to get as many sales as possible, but they didn't make a loss. Where you look at the original Xbox, PlayStation 3, the big fight between PS3 and Xbox 360, they lost billions of dollars because they gave you, at the time, an actual powerful box and then just subsidized it and made it cheaper for you to buy. So maybe they sold you, like, say, $1,000 worth of hardware for $599. Why couldn't they do that this time? Microsoft and Sony are making more money from their respective divisions for PlayStation and Xbox. Why couldn't they release a $1,000 console with an actual GPU? It has an APU, a really shitty APU in it. I don't understand why they couldn't have given you like a GTX 760 era kind of card or waited for Maxwell. Like, look at what Maxwell's doing with cars now. Like, give you a GTX 970 that can do 1080p 60 without a problem with super low TDP. Jam that into an Xbox, bam. You know?
Yep.
Microsoft I don't understand what's going on there. Yeah. But yeah, that's Microsoft for you.
Yeah, definitely. But, you know, like to recap that, like I said, having everything the same is definitely a good idea, but it's a bit hard to make everything the same when people don't want to use half of your products anyway.
That's right. I think that they're course correcting, which is really, really cool to see. Like, obviously, they're trying to go towards that one Windows to rule them all. Like a Google kind of method where Google have got Android on everything and, you know, Google services everywhere. If Microsoft are doing this and they do truly want to push Windows 10, then we need a new Xbox. It's as easy as that. The Xbox One's a pile of shit. It's not going to last 10 years like the Xbox 360 did. They really need to have a new console out, like an Xbox Pro, whatever, Xbox XT, Xbox Pro, Xbox whatever, Xbox One Extreme that can do 1080p 60. Because again, if they imagine if they did that, release Windows 10 and said, okay, whoever buys Windows 10 on PC gets $300 off of a new Xbox, and the new Xbox is $1,000, so you get, you know, that kind of money off. That would incentivize people, but then you'd be segmenting your audience. You'd be like, okay, now we've got developers working on Xbox 360, we've got developers working on Xbox One, we've got developers working on the new Xbox, we've got developers working on PC, we've got developers working on Surface. That's where they need to, like, get everyone onto the one market and make games on PC and scale them down to consoles. Making games surrounded by Xbox 360. This is why Assassin's Creed's a mess. This is why the Crew's a mess. This is why Watch Dogs is a mess. This is why so many of these games are jumbled messes because they're trying to develop for like 400 billion different platforms at once.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
It makes me very mad. And we're going to wrap up the podcast with another Microsoft article. Just a little one that the company went through 200 prototypes of the Xbox One controller before they released the final design and what was obviously shipped in the final box for the Xbox One. I really like the Xbox controllers. I think it's great. The Xbox One controller feels really, really good. And that's probably why. Did you hear that the Oculus VR, they purchased the design firm behind the Xbox 360 controller?
Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of, say, the original Xbox controller, for example. But once they hit like the 360 and the later editions, it got better. Not as fat.
I think they nailed it. Yeah, the original Xbox controller, I remember it was like a Dreamcast controller. It was just absolutely huge.
It was the PlayStation always won out in that retrospect. But
yep.
I mean, it makes sense they had 200 prototypes, because if I ask you right now, you know, design me a controller, like, really? Would you just be able to just chuck something out straight away?
Yeah, just from the effort, just that's it.
Yeah,
straight in front of me.
What do you do, really? You know, you don't know what to do.
That's right. For 200 prototypes, that's a lot of work to go through, but obviously they have to nail it. It's such an integral part. That's like, you know, getting a brand new $4,000 gaming machine and then providing you with a $10 PS2 mouse and keyboard. Like it's
Yep,
just, and then go, be a programmer. You wouldn't do it. You probably could, but you're not
for
going to be
sure.
anywhere near as comfortable, that you would with a proper mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, and it's
So,
because they're essentially providing a mouse and a keyboard with a computer. In an Xbox, they've got to put the extra effort into there because they got that extra stuff to try to develop.
yeah, that's
Mm,
right. Okay, so that's about it for the game podcast. Thanks for joining me,
no problem. Anytime.
and thank you to everyone in the whole world, the 4 million viewers that we expect to be watching this.
Yes.
We will talk
A
to you
minute.
soon. What was that?
A minute. 4 million a minute.
Okay, thank you. We will talk to you again soon.
See you later.